goodness. How are we doing tonight, everybody? We are playing hurt tonight. I almost canceled this a couple times. I haven't been feeling well here the last couple of days. So, but we're going to get through it because there's a lot going on. We're going to get down to business. And we're going to get squared away with the business of Baltimore sports as we do every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock in the Ravori Sports podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. That includes YouTube, especially YouTube. Definitely subscribe. If you subscribed on Twitter or X as they want to call it, definitely subscribe on the YouTube. So definitely we're trying to build that and get that squared away. More and more Facebook followers, Instagram, all that stuff. LinkedIn, almost at 100 on LinkedIn as well. Also to Spotify, definitely check us out there. The podcast is available on Spotify, there on Rumble as well, every week as well. And also too on a Driving to the Top Productions, the podcast is available there as well. So definitely, if you haven't, but especially the YouTube people, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe there. If you are subscribed on any of the other channels, Twitter, Rumble, any of that other stuff, definitely subscribe on YouTube as well. So definitely keep that in mind. NFL pre and post game is going to be on the draft day, April 24th, 2024. So definitely we're going to go ahead and we're going to be on before the draft and after the draft is over. We're definitely going to go ahead and go over all of the things NFL draft on that day. See, Charles Harris, we are Legal Shield. Definitely, if you have anything for your business, any business needs, we are Legal Shield. We are definitely going to go ahead and check it out as well. If you have a small business, legal needs, everything that's going on with the tariffs and all the stuff that's happening with your business, and there's a lot of small business owners, especially, say hi. There you go. Struggling with a lot of those things. We are LegalShield.com. We are LegalShield.com. Definitely check that out as well. Charles, my notary business, Genesis Notary Services here in the Winchester, VA area. So if we are in Winchester here, definitely Genesis Notary Services is our notary business in the Winchester, VA area. So if you live in Stevens City, Berryville, if you know, you're in the area, definitely check us out. And Harris, and also to Ravorisports.company.site. Definitely, that's the website where you can get Lamar jerseys, just like this one. Somebody asked me the other day on Facebook Marketplace for Lamar jersey. Definitely check that out as well. All right. So let's get down the big board. So this is a thing you hear in the NFL draft a lot. Like, what is the big board? So when you hear these guys, when you hear Eric DeCosta, when you hear a lot of these GMs, you hear a lot of these guys, well, we took the highest player on our board. I don't think fans understand sometimes what the board is, right? How does an NFL draft board look? No, we're not going to do a whole draft board because I wouldn't have time to put up 150 names or whatever it is on the board. But I want to give you guys an idea of how NFL draft board looks. So the draft board is, I don't know exactly, obviously, what the Ravens board is going to look like. I don't know exactly who they have where, who they like, etc. in all cases. They may like some guys more than others, etc. But this gives you an idea of what the board actually looks like, okay? So when they're taking players, the best example of that in more recent years, when you talk about guys with the draft board, is Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum are great examples of that in more recent years. So, like, need a receiver so bad. But, however, when you take a Tyler Linderbaum over a wide receiver and you need receiver, you're doing that because he's higher on your board. He's a better player. So big board these are the best players in the draft, regardless of what you think about position, need, etc. Now, that said, some guys may be taken off of boards for various other reasons. Didn't interview well with the team, didn't produce, whatever. They saw some things that they didn't like. Maybe a lot of times what we don't know is injury issues that teams have or players have. Happens every year. There's like 2 or 3 guys high on boards, high on drafts, whatever, and then we find out, okay, there's injury issues and they drop in the draft. So, as of what we know right now, looking at everything in the draft, who is there on big board as well. This is how I've been visiting it looks. Okay, we don't know it for sure. Number 1 player in the draft is Travis Hunter. Anybody that saw Travis Hunter play, it was outstanding. Guy, I don't know if he can play both ways, but certainly doesn't matter which side of the ball you put him on. I think he's fantastic. His play speed is just, you can't miss it. I get a lot of people asking me about Nick Illuminori, talking about the 4.3 speed, but he doesn't have what Travis Hunter has. You can see it in pads. You can see it in place. When I see Travis Hunter during the game, it looks faster than everybody else. That's why Travis Hunter, I think, is the best player in the draft. Obviously, it could be even more value if somehow we can find a way to play on both sides of the ball. Pretty sure on some fashion, too, he's going to play on both sides of the ball in the NFL level. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at any point. Abdul Carter for Penn State. Clearly, I think some people might argue with me he's higher than Hunter, but I think Carter is a pass rusher. I think is 2. Can't miss pass rush. Can't miss. There's no way he's going to go to a team. When you have a guy with this much talent, you have to put 3 guys on him. The thing I always look at pass rushers, especially as much as you might like them or don't like them, you scheme to take them out and you can't. That's the thing about Travis Hunt, about Abdul Carter. 2 or 3 guys you can't even do anything with. Abdul Carter, I think, is fantastic. I think is number 2. Mason Graham, I think, is 3. Graham, I think, probably his position matters a little bit. Premium positions, if it's wide receiver, it's higher, maybe cornerback, if it's higher, offensive tackle, it's higher, maybe just higher. I think that's probably the only reason he's below Graham. I don't think he's quite as good a player as Carter, but everything else is there. Very dominant on the inside. I think definitely he's a guy that has Aaron Donald-like potential on the inside. Definitely, it's a big need. Jacksonville, we're going to look at that possibly to draft Graham. But I think Graham, there's no way he slips out of the top 10. I don't think there's any question about it. Will Johnson, I think, is interesting. I think he seems to be dropping on board. I think skill-wise, he's top 5. I think the injury is concerning to some teams as well. And he is behind Travis Hunter. I think those are the 2 things where I think that are causing it. But on the board, I think he's pretty high. I think Will Johnson is 4. Look, he may drop lower, though. I think of all the players here, I think he's going to drop. He could drop the most. But I think he's outstanding. Genty, I think, is a top 5 player. Almost had 2,000 yards as a running back for Boise State. So I think he's phenomenal. I think Genty, is possibly one of the best running backs we've seen in several years. That's saying a lot. I don't think, again, position running backs, a lot of teams always feel, I don't think that's always right, by the way, but a lot of teams, GMs, fans, things like, okay, well, you can find a back later in the rank. Yeah, but you won't have an answer to Genty, a guy like this who's definitely a top 5 talent, almost 2,000 yards rushing at Boise State, a small school. That's kind of the only thing I don't like about him is he kind of played at a small school. Personally, I kind of lean more towards guys that played at bigger schools, but that's good. Cam Ward 6, I think is pretty unanimous that a lot of people think Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I think, like, if you're going over everything, I do think Ward is a little different in the sense of not everybody knows how to use him. I do think I'll stick by the fact that he has to go to the right place. I think Tennessee is going to do everything they can. He does remind me of, but exactly where he's going, he does absolutely remind me of Steve McNair. So they should know how to use him in Tennessee. That's where he's going. Deion Sanders' son, Shador Sanders. Yeah, man. Where he's going, I don't know. I don't buy any of the criticism. I think he's still going pretty high. I don't think there's much difference between him and Cam Ward. I think Ward, I think Sanders, I think, is actually, to me, more plug and play than Ward is, in the sense of, I think, more coordinators know how to use him, because I think his game is simpler. But I think everything we've seen with him in college is very good. You don't need to have a great throwing arm anymore in the NFL. Outside of Matt Stafford, there's a few guys that throw the ball way down early, but I think like throwing arm pretty good enough. The thing that you need to do is throw out the deep and out, the 15 yards down the field, throw to the receivers outside of their numbers. Shador can absolutely do that as well. I have him at 7. I don't think it's a lot difference between him and Cam Ward. Jalen Walker, I think 8 edge, the best 3-4 edge rusher, I think, in the draft. Pure 3-4 edge rusher in the draft, Jalen Walker for Georgia. Definitely, I think like the Squealers or the Packers or a team that runs 3-4 a lot is perfect for him. He can just plug and play right in. Doesn't matter the situation. I think he can play 4-3, but I think that would be his strength because he's got some good linebacker skills. So I think that's the best spot for him. Number 8, Tyler Warren. I have him at 9. Tight ends, you never know where they drop sometimes, but I think whoever gets Tyler Warren, I think is going to really like him. Warren, I think, is complete tight end. So he can, certain guys, I think Loveland, who's a little bit later, he's more of a guy downfield, the catcher, deep, like more the Shannon Sharp type. This is the complete tight end. This is George Kittle. This is Robert Gronkowski. This is a guy who's going to knock somebody down in a run game, etc., and catch the ball and catch the bird. So Warren is 9. Not a lot of guys in the league like this guy, Tyler Warren. Kel Williams, I think he's pretty high. I think like the thing that's less sexy about him is he is more of an edge rush guy as well. So I think sometimes, because he's not a natural to particular pass rusher, I think a lot of the pass rushers honestly have flaws with them in this draft. And I think this is probably, to me, the surest bet if you want to edge. Definitely, you're getting the run stopping. Definitely 4-3 if you want a run game or something like that. Or he's a guy you could put in a 3-4 edge, I think would suit him well. So I think he has some versatility there, I think, is edge. He's going to play 10 years. He's going to play 10 years. I don't know if he's going to, for sure, going to the Pro Bowl as well. Terriota McMillan is going to be 11. I don't love him as a receiver. Maybe I'm just comparing him to the last year's draft. Definitely the best receiver in this draft. Definitely good route runner. Gets the ball. It kind of reminds me last year of Rome Dunze. Definitely finds the open spots in the lane. Love his hands. Love his ability to catch the ball. So I do like him as well. I think this is, to me, easy, the top receiver in the draft. But I think McMillan, I think at 11, I think it's really good. Will Campbell, again, I'm going to concede that he's a top tackle in the draft. What I'm seeing on film, I understand why, because he's a great pass blocker. I think that's his strength. I like, for me, like offensive tackles to really just be destroying people in the run game, especially if you're going to be that high. So that's why I don't have him top 5. But he's a good pass blocker. He has great balance. He has great feet. The short arms may be an issue for him. But I think, like, he's not a mauler to me. I think, like, if somebody's going to be that high, he's a mauler. But I think, like, most of the league would have him at 12. I think the Ravens would have him at 12. Malachi Starks, not a lot. Everybody loves Malachi Starks. This is a guy, complete safety. Safety is the 3 functions. You got a guy handle the football, tackle, and hit. He's got all 3. He can go ahead, time a ball, get the ball, get range like every hit somebody. Kind of reminds me of a Brian Dawkins when I see him. So I think he's got that type of ability. Safety, though, again, is a position where I don't know how high he's going to go. He could go anywhere from mid rounds here, like 13 to like 20, 25 second round. You never know. So sometimes teams just don't want to take a safety. But I think it'll be interesting. Calvin Banks, I still have pretty high. He's my favorite offensive tackle. I think he's a guy. That's the mauler I'm seeing. Here's a guy manhandles people in the run game, manhandles people in the pass game. Not as technically sound, so I think that's an issue for guys. But I like Calvin Banks. I like a guy, big old guy, big fat guy. That's what I like about Calvin Banks. This is a guy that can do it. Jahdae Barron is so much fun to watch. I think like of all the film that you watch, Jahdae Barron is a pleasure to go ahead and watch him in the draft as well. He could play safety. He could play corner, nickel corner. I don't think you want to love him in nickel corner. I think he could play outside. He's got a nose for the ball. You can't teach that. That's the thing you can't teach somebody. There are a lot of corners you can teach them how to do things, teach them how to cover, teach them how to clue, teach them how to but you can't teach that natural instinct for quarterbacks and receivers. I think he has that. Jahdae Barron, great speed as well. Number 15. 16, I'm on Menbu. Some people have him higher. I don't think you can ever put him at left tackle. So that's why I don't have him like higher than 16. I think as a right tackle, I think he's going to do well. I think you put him at guard, he's going to be phenomenal. I think like that's what you like about him. But I think like he's more of a run blocker, at least at this point, than a pass blocker. When I see him, I don't love his feet. So I think that's why he's on the right side. Definitely think he has a bright future. But about 16, I think the Ravens definitely could consider. I think they definitely could consider if he drops at guard. So I think that's absolutely something. 2 edge rushers. Samar Stewart is really going up draft boards. Athleticism is A+. A+. I think he's probably as good of an athlete as you can find in the draft as far as that goes. Natural. I think you could put him at 3, 4, 4. It doesn't matter. I'd like to have seen more production, considering why is he so athletic. But definitely you look at a guy, similar body type to Myles Garrett, a number 1 overall pick, but he hasn't been able to go ahead and translate that to sacks. I'd like to see him translate that to sacks. So I do think Shamar Stewart is there, but edge rush is so important. Interesting to see. James Pierce, I think, is I actually like Pierce as well. Off the field things seem to be coming up for him. So I don't know how high or low teams are on him. Bunch of issues as well, but kind of similar. Great athlete, a little more production than Stewart, but some off the field things, a couple other things that are causing issues for him. Pierce, I think, at 18. Matt Golden is really moving up the board as far as wide receivers go. Some people, the GOAT Mel Kiper has him at number 1. I don't have him at 1. I got him at 2. Got to be careful sometimes when a guy with a receiver and you're just finding out how good he is at the combine and all that, etc. Got to be careful with that. But I think athletically, everything you want. So is Luther Burden. 2 guys, these are burgers. These 2 guys like that. If you need a guy, you're looking for a big, strong, physical guy, intermediate. I think McMillan, if you're looking just for the speed, these are the guys you want. Luther Burden and Gordon. I think I had Golden a little bit higher. I think he's got a little more outside. Jai Campbell, I think, is the best inside linebacker in the draft. I think this is the only one close to a first or second round grade in a lot of ways. Campbell, I think, is plug and play no matter where he goes. I think you can put him on the weak side. You can put him in the middle. Nose for the football, tackle, played at Alabama, played in a good defensive system. I don't think there's any question that you can't go wrong with a Jai Campbell there. Mike Green, edge rush. Marshall, Thundering Herd. Wow, West Virginia people that live up here know all about Marshall, Thundering Herd. Guy really stood out at the Senior Bowl, Mike Green. Outstanding speed. I do like guys. I think speed rush is very underrated in the league. So this is a guy produced at Marshall, produced at a small school, produced at the Senior Bowl, produced at all these schools. So I definitely like that as well. Thank you, Kenny. Definitely check out his channel with all his friends there, Kenny's 49ers. So definitely check him out on YouTube as well. So definitely check him out here. Here's Kenny again. I worry about Campbell's shoulder. I don't think Mike Green has faced any competition last year. Mike Green. I see. He said Mike Green. I don't think Mike Green has faced any competition even with the sack he had against Ohio State. Green, I think you're right about Green. I think the Senior Bowl thing is the thing. When you play well at the Senior Bowl, I really look at that as well. Productive at a small school, Senior Bowl, didn't face competition week in, week out. Sometimes that's a thing, but I think definitely he is. But definitely he is a guy you're absolutely looking at. So you're absolutely right about that. Josh Simmons. Thanks, sir. Josh Simmons is a tackle. I think he's the only reason he's even this low is the injury issues that he's had. Still talking about Mike Green, 17 sacks. Absolutely. The injury issues that he had, I think that is a concern. I think otherwise this guy would be much higher. Somebody's going to pull the trigger. I think he's moving up boards. I think the injury issues are an issue. Tyler Booker is outstanding. Love Tyler Booker. I think the only reason he's playing guard, he's the one guard I think in the draft you could put him right away as a starter. He has got great hands. I think he's good in a pass offense, great in the ball, mauling. Puts his hands on people very well. Another guy who was very good at the Senior Bowl, Josh Connolly. Connolly, I think, more of a left tackle peer to me. I don't think he's a guy that you could put at right tackle. I think his run blocking does need some work. So I think the best opportunity for success for him is to put him on the left side. Outstanding pass blocker, outstanding feet, played against that tough competition there. I definitely think that's a thing. Grant and Harmon are the two defensive tackles. I like Kenneth Grant. I think the only concern I think with him is he played next to Mason Graham. And so how would he do now against when he's getting doubled, when he has, he doesn't have that next to him? Derek Harmon, I think, is a monster. I mean, that Oregon team had some big monsters on it. I think Derek Harmon is absolutely one of those guys. Definitely those guys that have first round grade. And now we're in the area where the Ravens are picking now. Okay. So you're at 26, 27. So now you're at guys like that you're seeing. Colston Loveland, I think this guy, love watching him catch the football down the field. Absolutely. He's a guy, great hands, catching the ball down the field. Loveland, I think, is not as good a blocker, not nearly as good as Tyler Warren. But I think if you just want the receiver, you can absolutely draft Loveland. I think top 20. Walter Nolan on Mississippi, I think this is absolutely a pick the Ravens could make, needing defensive tackles. Grant, Harmon, Nolan. Nolan, I think, is a slight notch below those other two, but I think Nolan is really good. This is a good groups of D tackles, and I think Grace Abel, I think from East Carolina, I think was very good at the Senior Bowl, very impressive. I kind of think he could play tackle. I think as a guard, though, I got no problem with him there. Zabel, I think, is definitely. I think the Ravens definitely have their eye on him as well. There you go. So the draft. So that's what a board looks like, right? So teams, when they're going through the board, they're looking at things and they're going through things on the board that when they're going through the board, this is how they do it. So when they're looking at, okay, this guy. So as fans, sometimes what we do is like we need a receiver, we need a tight end. That's how teams look at it. They look at it with their big board. They look at exactly how it is there. So when they're in the draft room, that's how it looks. Now, I don't know. We don't know exactly how it looks, exactly. But based on need, based on players, based on those things, I think that's how the Ravens board will look going forward. Next week, they're going to have their Liars Lunch, I think, especially known pre-draft press conference. So we'll definitely go over that as well. Zabel can swing tackle on the pinch. I absolutely agree with that. I definitely think he can play tackle in the NFL. I think he'd be better. I think he'd be better at guard, but I think that's the case of all tackles because guard is a little bit easier to play. But I definitely think he can definitely play that. He's talking about Mike Green. It's hard to overlook 17 sacks. I absolutely agree with that. Definitely at a smaller school guy, you want a guy who can be for a smaller school guy. He has to be the best player on the field, and he has to play well Senior Bowl when he's playing with peers better than him. That's absolutely the case with him. All right. Let's talk about the madness is over. NCAA tournament is over. We have a new NCAA national champion, Florida Gators, over the Houston Cougars in this one as well. I thought the games were very, very close. There's no other way to say that Houston and Duke choked it away at the end in both games. I think you could definitely argue, especially in this final game, that they had the advantage most of the game. Not a lot of scoring as well, but at the end, they just didn't make the plays needed to go ahead and get it done. So let's see. Walter Clayton, I've been calling him Reggie Miller Jr. This was probably the worst game I've seen him all tournament. They were absolutely keying up on him. Percentage was way down, 11.7 assists, 5 rebounds. So he did contribute in other ways, which I always think is fascinating with a scorer. When they're putting 3 guys that were running behind his screens and all that other stuff, are you doing other things to help the team when your offense isn't? It's like, because they were clearly their defensive strategy, and Houston's very, very good defensively. Take him out of the game defensively. That's definitely what they were doing here as well. So definitely that's one thing they were doing. But it was interesting to see this. Will Richard, I think, was definitely stole the show in the game Monday night. Richard, I thought, was really good. So they were definitely trying to take Clayton away, and Richard stepped up, the senior from Florida. Don't know if he's an NBA player, but definitely he was good when he needed to be good. Not a lot of offense, so 65 points, not a lot. You know, it is college, not pro, but defensively, they did everything they were supposed to do. Alex Condon. Florida, I think, has a deep rotation when they play a lot of players. And this one, they pretty much went with 5 all night long. I think this was the most minutes I've seen Condon play in a game so far during out the tournament. 12.7 rebounds. Definitely mattered. Definitely they needed his physicality. LJ Cryer, I think, has been great all tournament. I think he was good in this one. I think the bad part is he was being covered on that final shot there, and then he couldn't get the shot off at the end. So I think that was an issue. They tried to get it to Milo Shine. I feel sorry for the guy because he definitely just didn't come through at the end. Ball dropped in front of him, bounced, didn't come up with the play, didn't execute. Florida was able to knock it the other way and end the game at the last second. So they weren't able to get their final shot off as well. He was good most of the tournament. So was Jordan Roberts, 8 points, 8 rebounds. So I do think the SEC was by far best conference in college basketball. So it's not just football. They had 13 teams in the tournament. They had 2 teams in the Final Four. In the Final 8, I think they had 4. I think 4 or 5. Tennessee was in, I think, who else was in the Final 8? But this was clearly the Gator season here. They were the best team. They had depth. They had size. They had shooting. They had ball handling. And they had an energetic young coach. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes going forward. College basketball now, there's no moving forward. Every year, churn. So the portal is already going on and everything. So congratulations, though, to you Gator fans out there. The Florida Gators have won the national championship in college basketball. So shout out to you Gator fans out there in the NCAA tournament as well. Final 4 games were also really good. Duke just losing a heartbreaker to Houston as well. Florida actually winning over Auburn, very close. Didn't surprise me as well. So there you go. This was insane in the NBA. And we're going to talk NBA because we got NBA playoffs here coming up. But Mike Malone, who was the coach of the Denver Nuggets for like last 10 years, his team right now, and I'm going to pull up the standings in the NBA right now. They were fourth the other day. They were, what are they now? Because it changed a lot. They're fifth. They're fifth in the West right now. They're 47-32. They won a championship last 2 years. They fired him week before the playoffs. That's just nonsense. I'm in shock that a lot of these national commentators are trying to make sense out of nonsense. There's no reason this guy should be fired. None at all. He's probably, you could argue he's one of the best coaches in the league, so he'll definitely get a job. He'll absolutely have a job next season, no question about it. The GM shouldn't have been fired either. This is a good team. You don't even know, and all the criticism, well, they didn't play well down the stretch. So what? The teams are supposed to win every game? That's crazy. They could have won it this year. I think they're one of the best teams in the league still this year. So, but we're going to see how they react to the coach. The only sense that I make, unless Nikola Jokic and him are really just, fighting or something every day, which I haven't heard. I haven't heard him say that, but this makes no sense. I mean, you don't want to win making a move. I mean, we have seen some ridiculous stuff in the NBA. Taylor Jenkins fired by Grizzlies. I thought they're going to the playoffs. What are Grizzlies, 7th? Same record. There's 14. They're in the West. 47-32. The Clippers, Nuggets, Warriors, Grizzlies. Lakers are one game ahead, 48-31. Timberwolves one game behind, 40. They're all in that same area. So you have no clue that's just, you're seeing this more in sports and in business. You're panicking. You're doing things because you see something in the short term. You got to think long term. Mike Malone has earned his play. I mean, that shouldn't even be a discussion that he shouldn't be gone. So I don't understand what you're doing. Certainly the timing of it is even crazier right before the playoffs. I don't know what you're gaining, if anything, with that. So I don't understand why you just didn't just play this out. Certainly that's what I would have done. Just played it out. Just see if he makes the playoffs. I think they still going to win the title this year, and they still might because they're in the playoffs. So I don't. That's just you're not thinking clearly. That's just you're not thinking clearly about that. All right, so let's go to more NBA. Here, NBA playoffs are coming. So, who are the best teams in the NBA? So, like I said, it is a lot of cluster especially in the West. I think in the East, it's pretty clear who is what. But in the West, I think it's a lot of teams close. So, we did this right around the playoffs, right around the All-Star game. So, right now, who are the 5 best teams right now in the NBA? Number 5, my Los Angeles Lakers. So this podcast was almost Ravorisports. It was almost called Ravori Lake because I have been a lifelong Los Angeles Lakers fan. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was my favorite player. Magic Johnson, Byron Scott, Cooper, Kobe Bryant, etc. You know all the names. This team, I think you have to put them in the top 5 because of Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And that's all there is to it. I think it's a cluster in the West, but I think you picking guys who are good enough to get your team in the finals, and when you get there, can you close the deal? Can you get everything squared away when you actually win in the West? So absolutely, I like the Lakers. It's very close. Houston could be there. I don't have Houston. I don't think Houston's better. I don't think Houston would beat the Lakers in the playoffs. I don't think the Clippers would beat the Lakers in the playoffs. I don't think the T-Wolves would beat the Lakers in the playoffs. They're close, but I don't think they're there. But I think the Lakers, it was tough, but I'm taking them 5. Definitely got to go with Luka Doncic. Got to go with the fact that LeBron's on their team. Even Bronny's actually looking like a player. Not a great player yet, Dalton Connect, the young guys, Austin Reeves is back, etc. Lakers. I think they might win 50 games. I think number 5. Denver is 4. We're going to find out how much they liked their coach or didn't like him. Definitely. You're definitely going to find out how much they like Mike Malone. This is going to affect them positively or negatively. Unfortunately, if they like Mike Malone, this could be bad because I think that could be a thing with Mike Malone being gone. They're going to miss their coach. They're going to want their coach there. That could be a problem for them as well. So we will see what happens. But I definitely think, look, they got Nikola Jokic, who I think probably I think a lot of us would agree is if he's not the best player in the league, he's one of the 2 best players in the league. And I think it has been more of him this year than it has been the whole team. I don't think there's anything wrong with that for one season. You know, if everybody's so convinced, okay, well, that he can't, well, I'm not so sure. He's taking matters in his own hands. Definitely they can get out of the West. But I have him at 4. Teams that the one championship in recent years, I definitely like them. The Nuggets, I have them at 4. Number 3, Boston Celtics. Boston, I think, is the old standby. I have them at 3. Tempting to put them at 2, considering the way they look lately. I think lately they've really played better. I think down the stretch. I think like Jason Tatum has really played well. They are really clicking all cylinders on the bench. Strickland, a lot of their guys are really playing well. So I think they're rounding into form. But I think it'd be very interesting to see how they do down the stretch. Flipping the switch, I almost don't want to use that term, but you could almost say that's the case with the Celtics, that they're peaking at the right time, even though their regular season record wasn't as good. But definitely they're one of the 5 best teams can win the whole time. It wouldn't shock me at all the Celtics could win. The top 2, gotta have Cleveland there. Cleveland is really, really good. I think they're kind of being slept on, only because they haven't really done it yet at the highest level yet. They haven't really won a title without LeBron James. Donovan Mitchell, I think, is fantastic. Darius Garland, I think, is fantastic. They have good size. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, etc. Matt Strauss, I think, has been good. There's definitely stuff there to make you think, but can you go and win a 7-game series against Boston, a team that's done it before? It's pretty clear in the East. I would be very, very surprised that if it wasn't Boston and Cleveland in the East. Very, very surprising if that wasn't the case. So we'll see about that. But definitely these are the 2 best teams, I think, in the Eastern Conference, for sure, Boston and Cleveland. But number 1, they're getting more respect. I used to say that they were the most disrespected. I still think that is kind of true, but they're getting more respect. I think not to level of, look, they've won 65 games. Like, I don't know what more you want. They win the last 3 games. They're going against the Suns, Jazz, and Pelicans. This team might win 68 games. I don't know what you want. I mean, they have the best defense, I think, in the entire NBA. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is deserving of the MVP. To you Jokic people, look, I got no problem giving the award to the best player on the best team. I think he's been phenomenal all season. So I definitely think the Thunder are the best team in the league. I think they cut down the nets this year, too. I think they show it in the playoffs as well. As much as I like to see the Lakers do it, I definitely Oklahoma City is really, really good. So there you go. The Oklahoma City Thunder. It's hot in Oklahoma, man. I got to tell you. If you ever been to Oklahoma, it's 100 degrees every day in the summer. So, yeah, you got to watch basketball in the summer. There you go, brother. I agree. All right. So, playing hurt. We're going to walk through it today. All right, so let's go ahead and get our baseball in as well, because it's been a long season for the Orioles, and man, we've just started. They got really just beat around today by the D-backs, and they didn't even have Burns out there on the mound for the whole series. It wasn't even his turn of rotation, so not good stuff by the D-backs, by the Orioles rather. Orioles with a losing record here to start. We're going to read the report. We're going to go over some things as well. There are a couple other, on top of the injuries, some things that they're doing internally that we're going to go over that are kind of bubbling to the surface. So this is why I kind of want to give it a little extra time, this, because we're going to go over that a little bit as well. So let's go over it. What will be the worst news that you could have gotten this morning like I did? Obviously, I didn't feel well all that. And then you get Zach Eflin on a 15-day injured list, retroactive to yesterday, March 8th, right last strain. So Colin Shelby called up from the Norfolk Tides. So this was the only guy he really had in the starting rotation that was pitching well at all. 3 quality starts, and immediately he goes out with a latch strain. Now, we all know how this goes with the organization and latch strains. They said it'd be a week. We don't know how bad this is going to be. So it could be months. It could be whatever. We don't know. We're hoping that it is a short-term thing. He comes right back, and he's able to be successful to come back. But this was the whole rotation. I mean, nobody else has really pitched well in the rotation except for really Zach Eflin for multiple starts all season. Albert Suarez is transferred from the 15-day to the 60-day DL to right subcapitular strain. So that's what happened to Suarez. So Suarez is going to be gone for a while. So we're probably not going to see him until the break. He's going to miss. You go to 68, you're missing about half the season. So you're probably right around the All-Star break. We should start seeing him. That's a loss. That's a loss. He didn't start out great, but that's definitely not good there as well. Daz Cameron traded to and Cash rather traded to the Milwaukee Brewers for left-hander Grant Wolfram. I'm noticing now they're picking up pitching all of a sudden. They're moving all these outfielders and picking up pitching. Got to do it before April. Got to prioritize this in the offseason. I have no idea if Wolfstrom's going to help him or not. Best you can get from him from a guy like this is he helps you in the bullpen at some point during the season. We'll see. I think that's going to be a thing that is going to happen. So we will see there as well. Gunnar Henderson activated from the 10-day injury list, option Dylan Carlson to the Norfolk Tides. I'm giving Gunnar a little bit of a pass here because he really didn't play at all in spring training. I think he played like the first week and then he was injured and he didn't play. So Gunnar really didn't do anything during the spring. So he's kind of hasn't played well yet, but he's kind of rounding into form a little bit. So that doesn't surprise me at all that Gunnar hasn't started out great here as well. But that doesn't surprise me. Gunnar, I'm not particularly worried about him. He's your franchise player. Gunnar will eventually really get rolling as well. Carlson, you're going to see this all year with him. He's going to go bounce up and down between he's going to bounce up and down between Norfolk and Baltimore all year long if he stays with the organization. So that's not a surprise at all. All right. This next one is going to surprise some of you why it's here. I'm going to this. We're going to talk about this. So Vladdy Guerrero isn't going anywhere. The Blue Jays have formally announced a 14-year extension for their first baseman. I think it's, and of course I didn't put the money down there like I was supposed to. The money is, I think it's 14 years, $300 million for Vladdy. 14 years, I'm sorry, $500 million. $325 million signing bonus. So all the talk about the Blue Jays losing Vladdy, losing some of their guys, losing that, they are going to keep Vladdy Guerrero there in Toronto. He's going to finish his career at least contractually with the Blue Jays as well. Now, we're talking about, this is Orioles, right? So why are we talking about the Blue Jays? We're talking about this. Corbin Burnes last year, the Orioles didn't make an offer. I always said if they actually made an offer, it would come out. Here's the offer that's been reported: 4 years, $180 million to Burnes. So this is controversial for a lot of people. Some people say it's a good offer. Some people say it wasn't a good offer. I want to go ahead and fair use this. We're going to go ahead and share the screen. Let's hear from the man himself, Corbin Burnes. Fair use on Ryan Ripker's podcast here. So go ahead.
There about the numbers and what the Orioles offered, and look, at the end of the day, yes, of course.
All right, so this is Corbin Burnes talking to Ryan Ripken a little bit about some of the reasons why he signed with Arizona and didn't re-sign with the Orioles.
It seems like you got the right opportunity going to Arizona, and I saw the clip of that, of people were throwing that out there about the numbers and what the Orioles offered, and look, at the end of the day, yes, of course, to be more in the discussion, you want it to be at a certain threshold. But if you were going to have the right opportunity, Arizona turned out with what they were giving you to be the right opportunity because of everything you just mentioned. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was always the door was always open to go back to Baltimore. Obviously, there were some other teams that were involved as well, but for kind of the way we looked at the process was if Arizona was going to come in and they were going to have a fair price and it was something that we felt was fair, it was going to be really tough to turn down. Just living here with the young kids, just for me, giving them the easiest life possible in this craziness of baseball, right? So when they kind of showed they were interested, I wouldn't say all the other negotiations got kicked to the back burner, but for me, my focus was like, okay, well, this is something that we can stay here and stay home. Obviously, Boris does a good job of keeping in contact with his other teams in case this didn't work out. But for us, as soon as I heard that they were interested, my attention was fully turned to that, just because that was for us the best situation possible.
All right. So you heard it from Burnes himself. So shout out to Ryan Ripken's podcast. Definitely check him out. That is the son, obviously, I'm sure as all you know, of the great Cal Ripken as well. Very interesting stuff. Definitely check him out on his podcast there. All right. So what happened? So it's concerning to me, the offer, because it's a 45-year, $45 million a year. That's a lot of money. It's a 4-year deal. What's the difference? Vlad Guerrero, 6-year, $14 million, $500 million, 14 years contract, 6 years to sign with Arizona. Max Fried, 6 years to sign with Arizona. Orioles seem to be hesitant to go and take these long multi-year deals that you're going to need to sign a player like Burnes. Now, he did talk about his home life, his wife. He signed with Arizona because he's got little kids now and he wants to be there more often, etc. Look, I'd be the last guy to criticize. I'm living in a town now I never would have if my wife wasn't from here. I'm native born, so I certainly understand the reasons for that. I'm not discounting that, okay? But the money is the concern. You want to make an offer comparable to. You got to make it worth the while when you're playing these players. And so that's my bigger concern, especially now, more importantly, with Gunnar Henderson. Are you going to make an offer like the Blue Jays, 14 years, $500 million to Gunnar Henderson to make him your franchise guy? Do you have it in you, or are you going to stick with these short-term deals or whatever? Yeah, you're seeing it already this year in the season with Burnes being gone. So you signed Saganos, you signed Charlie Morton. They're harder to come by than you realize, and they're finding it out right now. So would have Burnes stayed? I don't know. I'm not sure he would have, but That said, you need to get in the game and make the type of offer to keep a player like that. So that's just how it is. So that's more my take on it as far as well. To me, it's a good offer, but it wasn't good enough. You got to really – I want to see that. I want to see 14 years, $500 million. Are you going to commit to a star player in the long term? That's the thing. Can you do it? So interesting to see that as well. Well, we're going to talk about a couple more things here. Who's hot? Not a lot of players. Ryan Mountcastle, I think, was good this week. I thought Mountie, I think, has been in trade rumors. As we've heard, I think there's word is around the league is that they're shopping Mountie to go to another team to make room for Kobe Mayo at some point. We will see how that goes. Yadier, Cano, and Sir Anthony Dominguez have been outstanding at the start. No question about it. No runs from either guy. I absolutely think this should be 7 and 8. Cano in the 7th, Dominguez in the 8th. That's exactly how I would do it. You're not winning many games to get a save situation. You're not going to get starts, but that's exactly how I would do it. So these guys, but these guys have been good, so there's no question about it. Bad. Who's not? Charlie Morton hasn't been good. I thought his last start was slightly better. I'm concerned. He wasn't good at the end of last year. He wasn't good in the spring. He hasn't been good here at the start. He's 40-something years old. Sometimes guys, even guys like this, sometimes it's hard to predict for guys that get older and still play well. I don't know here at the end with Morton. Kalano Perez, I think, is about 30 seconds from getting DFA'd. He's about – I love Kalano Perez. He's been really lousy at the start. His ERA is, I think, that he actually gave up a run a day. His ERA went down to 16 runs a game. Not going to work. Hopefully he can turn it around. I do know that Hyde has a lot of faith about him. We'll talk about Hyde here in a second. But Dean Kramer has been uneven, I think, all season. He's getting some run support, but, you know, Dean, I think, man, I think he's just never been consistent enough to actually move past the middle of the rotation. I think that's the frustration with Dean Kramer. Coming up this week, homestand against good teams. So Santander is going to be back in Baltimore this weekend for those of you that want to see him. That new Vladdy extension he's got. So they made some commitments to the team here. So I thought the Blue Jays would really struggle, but they have really made some commitments to the team. Whatever, they're off to a good start. So they're off to a start here. And the Guardians, I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the AL all season. They're going to be going this weekend. So this weekend, the Blue Jays will start next week with the Guardians. I thought our dear departed Zach Eflin was the player of the week. Eflin, I don't even think you've won as many games as you won without Eflin and his quality starts here so far. Let's go ahead and give it to him. Hopefully this is a short-term thing as well. Before we go, let's talk about the manager, Brandon Hyde. I did see a Twitter post, and I don't know if this was true or not. I don't know. So let's just leave it in the rumor category. But there was a lot of rumor flight going to Arizona was very quiet. Guys were upset about guys going the way Hyde is managing the lineup. You know, guys going in and out. Star players don't like it. They're struggling here to start. So there's talk of him losing the locker room. That's what it said. Now, again, that's not – I didn't hear Brandon Hyde say that. I didn't hear players say that. That's a rumor, so I can't say that's gospel. I don't know. I can't say whether that's how players feel. That's certainly how a lot of fans feel right now. And I could say for sure – I've been sick and tired of the lefty-righty thing. This guy worships lefty-righty in baseball. Like, we must have a left-righter. We must have a left-handed behind a righter. We must have like this. We must have a guy come in and play on it. We must have, like, let's see Heston Kjerstad and Jackson Holiday play every day. Play every day. play. I do this to my kids all the time. I say it 3 times a day. Understand what I'm saying? Play every day. Gotta do that. Gotta play every day. You're not going to find out if they're any good if they're sitting. Jorge Mateo's got no business in center field. Can we establish that? No business ever in center field. Just doing things with the lineup more complicated. Look, one of my favorite managers of all time, shout out to Driving to the Top, was Jimmy Leland. He would do just that. Lefty, righty, have guys come in. Difference there was he had Mike LaValliere, Don Slott, and guys that weren't capable of playing every day. So you maximize what was there by just doing a platoon. There's no reason for all this lineup shifting. Mullins has been in 5 or 6 different slots in the lineup. I don't know what the exact stat, but there's no reason for that. No reason for that. Making things harder than they need to be. Mounties on your team, play him at first. Holiday's at second. Gunner's at short. Westie's at third. Tyler O'Neill is in left field. You can put him in right field or whatever, how you want to do that. That's fine. Heston Kjerstad's the other outfielder, left or right. Mullins at center. Ryan O'Hearn, DH. That's how I should look every day. You're being too cute. You're being too cute. And I think it's catching up with you now. The analytics and all that other stuff, catching up with you now. Players and the results aren't there. And so it's issues now. So it's really going to be a problem here pretty soon. You got some tough games. I just went over the schedule. You got Toronto, you got Cleveland, 2 decent teams. Toronto making commitments to the long term, And again, I'm going to talk about Michael Elias here too as well. The offers that you're making isn't getting it. You got to make a long-term commitment to your great players. You want to keep them. Players talk. They got to know this. It'll get better. Thank you very much for watching the Ravori Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media channels. Thank God I made it through. I have not been filming. Thank you for all your subscription. And definitely subscribe on the YouTube. If you're subscribed right now on Twitter, if you're watching this on Twitter, on Driving to the Top or something like that, definitely subscribe to the Driving to the Top Productions podcast, Driving to the Top on YouTube, and subscribe to the Ravori Sports Podcast on YouTube. So definitely do that. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the games.